Sub-Zero in front, getting close to home. He's got a break of a length and a half. The interest in the minors. Sub-Zero's going to win it.
Nothing else really. A place chance headed by Shumpiter along the rails. Mummify is going to take the South Australian Derby easily. A brilliant ride. Mummify scored by 2. But it's Rebel Raider. He's dominant in the South Australian Derby. He's 6 in front of Astro Gaines for Tusi, and Rebel Raider takes out the VRC SA Derby double. He won it by 4 lengths.
But Delicacy out wide. The filly now swept up, going with it on the inside. Allergic, then Worth of it. Delicacy, she's in front. Delicacy, they might query the form somewhere in Australia, but how can you deny the filly? She is a star.
Today we find ourselves at Morphettville for day 2 of their carnival. It's the Group 1 running of the South Australian Derby.
Highlighted by the Group 1 South Australian Derby, steeped in history and tradition. The Victory Stakes and the Queensland Guineas are the Group 2 races, so it's a wonderful menu. And then you add in Hawkesbury, listed races here. At Caulfield, the most interesting runner of the day is the mighty Pride of Jenny. We'll touch on her throughout the day today, but looking forward to this South Australian Derby. And you've mentioned a couple of winners that have been part of your family's history and tradition. A great race.
Subby and Mummify, you mentioned those, but the 152nd running of the South Australian Derby, making it older than the Kentucky Derby, which is to be run tomorrow morning in Louisville. Pride of Jenny, though, is that runner that you mentioned here at Caulfield. Be fascinating to see her. She carries top weight, big weight today in a listed event.
Yeah, the reigning Australian Horse of the Year in an off-season race, a listed race at Caulfield. Fascinating. Our gun caller is Matt Hill. We welcome him in.
A year older than the Melbourne Cup, the South Australian Derby has a rich history with a distinguished honour roll.
They're racing in the 1963 Cup.
2 years after his South Australian Derby win in 1961, Gattam took out the Melbourne Cup.
And Gattam is too good and wins the Cup.
In 1992, the mighty Sub-Zero achieved the same feat, claiming the double in the same year.
Sub-Zero holding the end across at bay, and Sub-Zero wins the Melbourne Cup by 2 lengths.
In 2009, Rebel Raider won a prestigious Classics double.
Rebel Raider by 2 lengths. Here we go.
Victorian Derby in the spring and South Australian Derby in the autumn.
And Rebel Raider takes out the VRC SA Derby double. He won it by 4 lengths.
In 2015, Delicacy was the last filly to win the South Australian Oaks and Derby double.
Delicacy, they might query the form somewhere in Australia, but how can you deny the filly? In 6 weeks, she's won 2 Oaks and 2 Derby.
While Danny O'Brien, star son of Camelot, produced a memorable performance in the 2020 edition of Morphettville's historic Group 1 for 3-year-olds.
And here comes Russian Camelot with a big bounding run. In front, Russian Camelot from Dalasan, and he's king of the castle.
What a great race it is, the South Australian Derby. What it's shown in the past that it does attract the best, including the best jockeys, So the Zazman, 35 Group 1s. We had 2 Group 1s last week. He won them both.
Can you imagine celebrations in the Zara household afterwards would have been elite.
It was French.
Of course it was, not domestic. Ben Melham also riding very well at the moment. But in South Australia at the moment, it's an apprentice who leads the charge in the Jockeys Premiership in Rochelle Mills. She, of course, was the Dux of the Jockey Academy last year, and now, I mean, she's riding doubles and trebles here, there and everywhere, and she leads the charge.
Yeah, that's right, and Taylor Johnson's had a terrific season as well. So Jamie Melham and Ben Melham will be there, so will Mark Zara, and our skipper is there as well, as we welcome him, Bruce McAvaney.
Richo, there's something always special about Derby Day, wherever it might be. And we've got a very good one in South Australia this afternoon. Not quite as many features today, but the meeting is dominated by the $1 Million Derby. And many storylines. The Browns, that would be something, wouldn't it? And of course, John Allen. He's won 4 derbies here, and he's won a total of 11 if you count those Tasmanians. So they team up together with the favourite. Jamie Melham, she broke through last year and won her first Group 1 on this day. And she teams up with James Cummings. And we know that his grandfather won 10. His great-grandfather won 3. and his father Anthony won one, so that would be something, and he's been in the news this week. The weather on the track, well, the weather, it's a bit blowy, but that's nice. It's a lovely day. The rail's out 2 metres. The track is a good 4. Absolutely perfect conditions. And if the biggest story were to be told from a South Australian point of view, it's Gold Rush Guru, a VRC Derby winner, trained just over there, winning his local derby.
It's one of the great questions that are going to be posed during the week at the Chase. Will we team up with him? How many South Australian derbies is Johnny Allen?
Oh, he's just been a master at going across the border, and it's 4. Okay, well, it didn't give me long to ponder it. It's 4.
Well, they knew that you would get it. There's no doubting that. The Chase, one of my favourite shows, next week at 5 o'clock. So 4 South Australian derbies for Johnny Allen, and not just any winners, Russian Camelot. So he started teaming up with Darren Weir, initially with Howard Be Thy Name and Volatile Mix, and then Russian Camelot, and then with Kieran Maher with Jack, Explosive Jack, of course, an ATC Derby winner as well.
Yeah, dual Derby winner. So that's a great record in one race, isn't it? Of course, the Irishman who bases himself in Victoria. Looking forward to going over to SA for the Derby, and here Bruce is with the master in Johnny Allen.
Johnny, firstly, it'd mean a lot for Emily and for David, wouldn't it?
Yeah, look, obviously they made the big move from New Zealand over here a few years ago and get their team going real well. So, yeah, it would be, I suppose, a big milestone for them to get the Group 1 win.
You've got on this bloke at the right time, Alistair Clark, and then the Galilee. He's been impressive.
Yes, he has. Look, he's still improving. He ran well in Alistair Clark and then was very impressive in the Galilee final. Look, although he might have beaten the strongest field, but he's still done it well. So, yeah, look, fairly hopeful he can back up and run well here today.
With a couple of scratchings, you actually come into barrier 1, so is that tricky or not?
Look, ideally I'd prefer to have been drawn out, just gives you a few more options, but look, he's still not fully proven at the trip at 2,500, so at least it'll give us a chance to just come out and relax straight away, get him into a good rhythm, and yeah, look, we might need a bit of luck at some stage, but I don't think we'll be too far off him from that barrier, so yeah, if we can get a soft run, I think, yeah, hopefully it'll play to our favour.
And I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't mention you've got a pretty good record in this race.
Yeah, look, I've had a good look in it, so hopefully, yeah, the look can continue.
All the best, mate.
Cheers, thank you.
It's quite incredible, this record. So 4 South Australian derbies, 2 Australian derbies, 2 Vic derbies, a Queensland derby. They're the Group 1s. You add in a Tassie derby as well. So 9 Australian Group 1 derbies. So he equals Jim Pike and John Miller. If he wins today, and he's also equal to Jimmy Cassidy, he wins today, he joins Damien Oliver, George Moore and Darby Munro with 10 Australian Group 1s. The all-time derby king was the great Bobby Lewis with 18, including 8 the VRC. But
that's extraordinary. I'd never thought about it like that, but he has a great affinity with these 3-year-olds over the staying trip, so well done to Johnny. Looking forward to seeing if he can add to that total today.
A narrow margin on Tulsa King. Coco Sun sneaking through on the rail to join them. Aerosol in front from Coco Sun. Tulsa King. Then came Antrim Coast. Warmonger descending down the middle. Aerosol joined by Coco Sun. Coco Sun rallied through underneath Aerosol to take a slender lead. A half, 3/4 Coco Sun on Aerosol. Warmonger's flashing down the outside. Coco Sun in front from Warmonger. Jamie Carr gets her Group 1 in South Australia. Coco Sun wins the derby for the McAvoys.
You've had so many great days, haven't you, in racing? This one's up there?
This is up there. It's very special. Obviously, I've had a great few months, but I just wanted to win one back home in Adelaide, and especially for people like Tony, who has supported me since I was a young 16-year-old. It means a lot to ride a Group 1 finally for him.
Incredible Jamie Carr, she was known then. Now Jamie Mellon with that terrific win on the filly in Coco Sun. Just part of this great history as Bruce outlines it in the South Australian Derby.
Richo, I'll talk about this young fellow in a minute, but look, it's the second oldest derby in Australia, older than the Melbourne Cup. Haven't had as many runnings because we've had some stops and starts, and that first race was in the summertime at Thebarton Oval, which of course West Torrens played a lot of league football at. So that's sort of the big picture. Colin Hayes wins his first Group 1 in 1954. Bobby Lewis wins his first Group 1 back in 1896, and Bart in 1958. And the Cummings family have won a total of 14 South Australian derbies. Bart's father, Jim, 3, Bart himself, 10, and Anthony, 1. And James today has a big chance. And on Bart in that first, I was here in 1958. I remember it vividly. The favourite was Jordan, Pat Glennon. I thought he had a sharp nose. He was riding Jordan, and Bart's Stormy Passage won. Little did I know what I was seeing.
I reckon, if you look back at the last few races at Hawkesbury, that's got to be all day in the first couple and running.
Can we go down memory lane?
Oh, please take me there.
28 years ago when Jason Holder won a South Australian derby. 28 years ago. He must have been a slip of a lad. Here's Bruce.
Stubby's a great horse. You've got a tough barrier, but history shows that barrier 16 has been pretty successful, believe it or not.
Yeah, well, you're right, Bruce. We've drawn a very awkward gate, but I'm going in there with the belief how good he is, of a horse he is. He's won the VRC Derby. It was no fluke. We know he's a staying pedigree horse, and he's going to need a little bit of luck early. Hopefully we can get a bit of cover, switch him off, and be the first one home.
So I'm gathering from that you're not going to be going forward early, are you, or not?
Yeah, I'm just going to go right in smooth, and where I can get a posse. It's going to be all determined on how much pace is in the race, Bruce, where I land. But he's clean out of the gates, he's good. So I don't want to be too negative on him, because then I'll be pulling him around and fighting him, and that's the worst thing you could do in these longer races, is fighting him. We've got to leave all our carrots to the last bit, and hopefully we can do that.
How did he feel last week?
Great, he's pulled up really good. I've been on his back ever since. I just pulled up really good. I think, if anything, he's benefit from the run. So he's going to be a chance for sure.
Do you remember back to 1997?
I do, Bruce. It's been a long time. I think the Crows won the premiership then, didn't they? The grand final, didn't they? That's how long it's been. So, yeah, I do remember it really well. But Derby Day, sensational day, and obviously voted for Cliff Brown. It was great. And we're due for another one, because I've ridden a few seconds and a few thirds. And John Allen, when he comes over, though, from the border, he's hard to beat. So I was hoping he was going to miss a plane today, but all in all, it's a good competitive race.
All the best, mate.
Thanks, Bruce.
James, firstly, how's Lavelier done? He was a cracking run in the Chairman's.
Yeah, he pulled up really bright from the run last Saturday. On Sunday morning, he was jumping out of his skin, and he's got through a few cold mornings here in Adelaide this week, and he's just arrived on course. He looks perfect. I'm really pleased with how he looks 7 days later.
He doesn't win often, but he's been knocking on the door, hasn't he?
Yeah, look, he's been crying out for ground, and you could see that in his last couple. 2100 2 ago against the mare, the older mare, in the midweeks in Melbourne, and last time he was really good late in the Chairman's, which I'd like to think is going to be excellent form for the Derby this afternoon. And like he was the run of the horse that was just desperate for further, and he gets it this afternoon.
You've won a Derby before Godolphin, but you haven't won one for Godolphin.
No, well, look, it'd be great to win the South Australian Derby here. A bit of history tied in here, but he's a very interesting horse. He's out of a Singspiel mare he's the 6th stakes performer she's thrown, and it'd be good for him to break through as a Group 1 horse this afternoon. But yeah, excellent for the team, who have handled the horse beautifully up to now.
I've got to ask you about the big news during the week. How are you feeling about it all?
Yeah, good. It's it's the right time, and yeah, we're really positive about getting support from Godolphin next season, and looking forward to going out on our own.
And when will we know, and when will you know whether or not you'll be at Royal Randwick, where your grandfather was making a name for himself? Well, he'd already made a name, hadn't he?
Yeah, look, that'll be a decision for the board, and they've got a little while now to decide that, but those applications are in next week, and yeah, it's exciting to going out on our own next season, and the timing's perfect.
Well, Godolphin has supplied you with a lot of good horses. You've been an incredible asset. Well done.
Thanks, Bruce.
So beautifully said. And so this Agnes Banks private training facility is going to be interesting, where it goes to next.
Yeah, there's a couple of trainers who'd be looking at that, but also Crown Lodge just across the road from Warwick Farm as well. So you would hope that one of the big trainers, and you've got a couple in mind who might be looking at Agnes Banks, but also Crown Lodge, and knowing that I think that James will be the front runner to get Leilani Lodge at Royal Randwick, considering the family history, but also there is no doubting that James going out on his own, he is going to have the support of every major owner right across the country. He is going to do a wonderful job as his own public trainer. Look at how many Group 1s he's won as the head trainer for Godolphin. 48 in that 8-year tenure. You look at what Peter Snowden achieved in his tenure, and then John O'Shea. He is such a good trainer, and I think because he's been under the Godolphin umbrella for so long, people might...
Billy Egan looking for his first Group 1. Patrick Payne doing the training of the number 3 Dunkeld.
Gates open, they're racing. Reservoir Dog a little slow. Not far away, Dunkeld, and Gotta Be Savvy's rolling forward.
Leaving the straight the first time, ended up in a pretty handy position.
Then Prince Takia from Dunkeld.
Probably by about the 600 till the last 50 metres, I didn't think I was going to win it until he wheeled in the other horse.
Dunkeld's rallying late. Dunkeld after promises kept. Dunkeld reeling in, and the Derby's his to savour. Dunkeld won the Derby from promises kept.
Only been a battler for a few years. I've run second in a few, so you never know when you're going to get the next opportunity or if there ever will be one, so it's good to get the monkey off the back.
It probably just meant a lot to me because it was for Patrick and the stable, and that's been a stable that's really supported me, and we've been a real close team for a long time now. I know I was real hungover the next day at Ballarat. I can't remember what I did the night before.
Bellier looks hard to beat for mine in a South Australian Derby. Love what he did last Saturday for James Cummings, and also Jamie Mellom stepping up to the 2,500 metres today. Does not look to be a worry at all, and Bruce is going to be joined by Jamie Mellom right now.
Jamie Lavellier must have given you such a good feel last week.
He did. First thing I said when I got off the horse, I always told James it's a Derby horse. Maybe it wasn't the Melbourne Derby, it's the Derby. So look, I thought if he drew a gate, he's almost impossible to beat. Now it's going to be up to me to try and work some magic from there. I'm undecided. The worst thing is he just jumps so well, so it's going to be hard to drag back when he lands 2 in front sometimes. Definitely, if he gets the right run, I think he's very hard to beat.
He doesn't win a lot of races, and you've ridden him a lot, but he runs a lot of good races.
He's been so disappointing because I honestly thought he was the Derby horse last year, and he's just starting to pick up again now. They've tried some different things with him. He's been jumping, he's been schooling, and it sparked him up. Ever since I rode him at Sandown, he's a different horse now, so as long as he runs as well as he did last week, and I think he'll be hard to beat.
And I've got to ask you about winning Group 1s in South Australia. It was on this day last year that you had the breakthrough. Pretty special, isn't it?
It is. I've had some great Group 1s in the past, but winning my first one in Adelaide was so special, just in front of friends and family. I think my auntie's here, and it's just so much more special, I think.
Good on you, and for Godolphin. If anyone can wave a magic wand, you can. Good luck.
Fingers crossed, thank you.
She can find the magic wand. There's Uncle Darryl. This is Leighton Hewitt's uncle, and Darryl Hewitt, who's looking for his first Group 1. He trains Snoopy now, David Brown and Emily Brown there with Stratario. The Bain Taylor team and Gowers are all looking for Group 1s coming up. And for the jockeys, Liam Reardon has a live chance for mine with Confetti Garden. And don't rule out Daniel Stackhouse. And I feel like we say it time and time again.
He's going to get there. He's going to get there one day. He's such a talented rider. And hopefully it's not too far away for D Stackhouse. Well, how many years ago was it that Stubby Holder won the SA Derby? 28 years ago. And it's been a long Group 1 drought since then.
I had an afro. That's how long ago it was.
You could run fast.
That was a long, long time ago. So what a drought that would be breaking today. That's got to be the longest drought in Group 1s. If he's able to win today, gaps between your first and your second.
Well, not many people have careers that last 28 years in the saddle.
Wow, that's some effort, isn't it? So here we go. The South Australian Derby. It's a Group 1. It's over 2,500 metres, and this is the Group 1 performer, the VRC Derby winner. But the problem is earmuffs pre-race. Now the Norton bit comes off as Andrew Lewis continues to play around with gear. Where is the best of him? Where's the horse that ran third in the Australian Guineas 4 starts ago?
And the question is, where does he settle? I know that 3 starts back in the Rose Hill Guineas, he was right there on speed and he was keen and he was all over the place. And then they went back, took their medicine in the ATC Derby. And then they did the same. They went forward on him last. I think you've got to settle him back and let him run on and try and get him to settle because he uses too much petrol out in front. Isn't he beautiful, Statuario? The beautiful grey by D'Argento for the brown team out of Pakenham would be some sort of performance to get him to win a Group 1. Confetti Garden also comes out of that ATC Garden behind Aliana, though. Going to have to, I'd say, improve, even though they're different quality of Group 1 derbies.
Yeah, it just didn't measure up at that elite level. American Wolf, well, he'll stay all day. He won the St. Ledger. Mark Zara, the gun jockey on. Of course, he won the race with Jungle Magnate. And a big cheerio to Chris Lynn, who's in the ownership of American Wolf. So our big bash mate in Chris Lynn. So good luck to Linny here. I think this guy will run some sort of race.
So do I.
He is a big slugging type that can go forward and just keep whacking away at the same pace. I think he can run really, really well. Kieran Maher, outstanding trainer of stayers. We know that. He's running the chairman's top of the straight M. I thought he was going to come last. He kept whacking away and ran fourth.
I'm with you. I think he's at a big price. I think he can run a drum. Snoopy now, he's a grinder as well, isn't he? As you mentioned, Uncle Mr. Hewitt. And I tell you what, he's going to have to grind away again up to the 2,500 metres today, his first test over that trip. But I reckon he'll probably get whether he's fast enough to get it in winning time remains to be seen. Dubai Focus here by Pride of Dubai, of course the sire of Pride of Jenny, who we've just seen win here at Caulfield today. Ben Melham takes the ride here today and has had a really good preparation.
Yeah, so Stacky on Dubai Focus because Ben's had a change with the other horse emergency gaining in. Lavelier, there's Jamie Melham's ride. We've just heard from Jamie. She won last year on a filly called Coco's Son. And can James join great-grandfather, grandfather and father?
Yeah.
It'd be amazing, isn't it? Now a channel change coming up for our audience. Make your way over now. Keep watching this amazing race coming up. South Australia, you're over to 7-2 to watch the SA Derby. South Australian audience, welcome over on 7-2 in the mounting yard for your great race, the South Australian Derby, the longest running race that's been run in South Australia as a G1. It's up there with the Melbourne Cup in the amount of years it's been. Rocktave, and what do we do with a horse who is third at Group 3 level in New Zealand, and we know that they can produce stayers?
Yeah, it's interesting. I trust Stephen Marsh implicitly. He's great with stayers, but it's not the ultimate form reference coming from a Group 3, but also only cracking his maiden 2 starts ago. It's a big ask to come and compete in a Group 1, especially across the ditch, so to speak. Dark and Confidential here. What an opportunity for Rochelle Milnes. She not only leads the premiership, she won the Group 2 Adelaide Cup only a month or so ago. Now to have a live chance in a Group 1 is very promising for this excellent South Australian apprentice. Compressing, very lightly raced and comes out of that chairman's last weekend. What did we make of that? It
was a solid run there in the chairman's without being startling. We need to improve on that compressing. Scintillante. Billy Egan looking to get his second South Australian Derby. Cliff Brown's looking for his fourth. 1996, 1997 and then 2000, and then went and trained in Singapore, back in Australia now. And the son of Savabeel has to improve on what we saw in the chairman, so backs up today. Then we get to the fillies, Em, and we start with Cavity Bay.
I really like this filly, and I think she's got plenty to offer here today. We've seen the fillies be very competitive in these derbies. I mean, look at Aliana, and then last year with Coco Sun winning the South Australian Derby. I think she's at a big price to run a hole in maybe the multiples there for the Calvin and Tony McAvoy team. Harry Coffey, their stable rider, to take the ride, and with another filly here to run a drum.
Yeah, and I've got her as my roughie in Feminilli, who's been looking for this trip. Just hit the line nicely. A done deal filly, a little X factor about her. I think she can measure up. It's got a bit of a tail, this race. Captain Hilfiger for Anthony Darmanin and Pete and Manny Galagotis. Good luck to them. Ran 9th in the Chairman's. But then we move to an Emergency who gains a start and has a real live chance. There he is. Ben Melham says, I'm going to ride him. He's had 2 wins in the race before. Price Kent team. Global Eclipse is right in this race. Nicholas Quinn, the market for the South Australian Derby. Back to you with a big bet in a moment, Nick, as we build up towards this South Australian Derby, the history and tradition of it. We've seen no better winner than Mummify. We saw what he did and come right behind us here and win a Caulfield Cup after winning this, and then Sub-Zero, of course, winning a South Australian Derby and then winning the great race, the Melbourne Cup as well. Russian Camelot in recent years is probably the best of the winners we've seen in recent times. He was such a talent, Russian Camelot.
Yeah, no doubting that. Let's get a big bet, though, with Nick Quinn. Where's that big money headed?
Statuario is the one that punters are coming too late here. Some of the big bets through on that galloper through the course of the day has been rock solid late. $3.50 into $3.25. One bet of 2,000 placed at that $3.50.
What a story to be for Emily and David Brown, the New Zealand trainers who are now calling Australia home. They set up initially at Cranbourne, just couldn't get that stable going the way that they wanted, so then transferred over to Pakenham, and ever since then they have had their team humming along. Yeah, for sure. My only downside with him is the month between runs. I like to see these stayers with a bit of work into them. I don't mind the quick backup. We've seen that be very effective very recently, and that's why I'm with Lavalier, but I also want to have something each way on Saint Emilion and Cavity Bay, who also come out of recent races. So if there's one knock on Statuarium, he's got form around Chanois and Feroce, so, you know, really nice form there, but the month between runs is the only little downside there. That's a fair point. Johnny Allen has won this race on 4 occasions. 6 is the record. Mick Medhurst has won 6 South Australian Derbies, so Johnny to move within 1 and rides the favourite. Let's soak up all the atmosphere at Morphettville, the Group 1 South Australian Derby.
Well, Hewitt compressing, meanwhile takes its position. Captain Hilfiger still out with Dark and Confidential. Also out of line here still is Confetti Garden and Gold Rush Guru. There might be 4 out here. The 2,500 metre start here for the Derby. So we're just about ready. Confetti Garden moves in. Captain Hilfiger goes up. So the red light's on for the Derby. Set to run here. Big field. Set to run. 2025 edition. They stand pretty well. Statuario favourite racing now in the Derby. Statuario left okay here. Dubai, I should say, Global Eclipse goes forward early. Dubai Focus out wide is pressing forward as well. So it's going to be Global Eclipse and Dubai Focus. The speed slow. Roctave is third. Snoopy Now's handy with Dark and Confidential. Lavalier. Closer to the inside, we have Cintalante and Statuario. So the leader early is Global Eclipse. As they come back into our view, now tackled by Dubai Focus. So Dubai Focus takes over from Global Eclipse, and Roctave is up to third. Compressing is fourth and Snoopy Now's fifth. Then came Saint Emilion, and deep out on the track, Lavalier continuing to press forward. Back on the inside, then came the favourite Statuario. 3 back the inside from Dark and Confidential. Gold Rush Guru's 3 deep and exposed here, but is pressing forward. Further back in the field, Cintalante shuffled back from Cavity Bay. Then Confetti Garden. Well back in the field, Familia. Second last in the field was American Wolf, and about 3 lengths away last of all was Captain Hilfiger. So Gold Rush Guru, he was caught wide, and the Victorian Derby winner is let slide now, and it's Gold Rush Guru out on top. Roctave is second, and Dubai Focus is back into third position. Lavalier gets into a trailing position fourth. Two back then on the outside is St. Emilion. It's covering up, compressing the inside. Then came Snoopy Now, the Port Adelaide Guineas winner, back in about 7th. Behind those then we've got further back then St. Emilion. Underneath of it then came the favourite, and that of course is Statuario. It's still back on the fence. Then came around the outside Dark and Confidential. Further back in the field then Centolante. A length away in the field then on the inside Familiar. Well back on the outside of the track we got Confetti Garden with also Cavity Bay, American Wolf and Captain Hilfiger last of all. So it's Gold Rush Guru here in the Derby about to go for home. Led by 2 to Roctave second, Dubai Focus third. Then came Lavelier. Trying to get to the outside here is Global Eclipse. It's starting to chime in now. Further back on the field came Snoopy Now. It's Gold Rush Guru here in the Derby leading the way. It gets away by 2 lengths here. Out wide Global Eclipse is running on and snatching runs the inside Familiar. It's making ground along the inside. It's out after Gold Rush Guru. Familiar takes the lead now from Gold Rush Guru. They're clear of Lavelier. Now getting out Statuario's flying home. Familiar's in front. Statuario's grinding home. Familiar is in front. Statuario's running out of time. And it's Familiar. Familiar wins from second placing Statuario. Third, Lavelier, I think, in a photo. Cavity Bay was there with also not far away Cintalante. They'll come back into my view shortly. Further back then came behind those, knocking up quickly, was Roctave from Confetti Garden. Dubai Focus compressing Snoopy Now. Dark and Confidential well back in the field, clocking in next Global Eclipse, and Captain Hilfiger back at the rear.
As good a ride as you'll see in a Group 1 staying test as there is. Lockie Neindorf literally did not go around a horse over 2,500 metres from an inside barrier on a filly, tackling the boys, and loves it. And why wouldn't he? Knocks off the favourite. Lavelier runs third. Cintalante runs fourth. Feminile M, when you watch the replay, he just kept getting beautiful runs inside, and then he dashed up where no one wants to be. It's the worst part of the track, but off she was gone.
Well done to you. Your Ruffy wins a Group 1. These fillies, this crop of fillies. I mean, they're just taking everything before them. We've seen the ATC Derby taken out by Aliana for Chris Waller. And now this girl, Feminale, she comes with Lockie Neindorf. He wins his second Group 1 on the home deck, which is so important as well for Philip Stokes. He's training oh so well at the moment too, but you're right. That was some sort of steer, but these fillies, they got panels on the boys this crop. They are the best of their generation, these girls. Statuario was so brave, running on for second, just right out of time. And Lavelier plugged on well for third. Cavity Bay, the other filly, she ran a dashing race for fifth. It was a muddling race the first 4 furlongs. They didn't know what was going on. The tempo was slow and then fast, and then they really settled down with Gold Rush Guru taking off, dropping his head and putting himself to sleep, and then just really settling the speed. But he's a head scratcher, that horse. There's something not going on right there.
Something's not right. 8th career Group 1 for Philip Stokes. This would fill his heart so much. The South Australian Derby, he deserved that. But he's done it with a filly, and he's done it with a filly for OTI. And well done to Shane Driscoll and Terry Henderson. What they're able to do, buying horses all around the world. This is a done deal filly out of a Piero mare, so a real Australasian product. And she's a beauty. She just stays all day. They aimed her at the Australasian Oaks. They backed her up. That would have been a big call, Em, because you could think, oh, we'll wait a week and then go to the South Australian Fillies Classic. But no, they have a crack at the Group 1. She's around 40 to 1 this morning. And on the tote, she only pays $18, but fixed price, she was huge. Great win.
That is a super win. There's something about the backup with these stayers that I really like, and Statuario.
Check out the horse in the OTI colours, Lockie Neindorf. That was an incredible ride to win the South Australian Derby. He wins his second Group 1, and he does it in style there for Philip Stokes. Let's hear from the gun jock. How thrilled would he be?
Oh, it was so good.
That was good, eh?
It was better than good.
Oh, yeah.
It was the most sensational ride.
Oh, thanks. No, it was spectacular. Look, everything just panned out, and you know yourself in racing, sometimes that's all you need, isn't it? And the seas opened once again, and the guides were on my side, and next minute we were first past the post.
How were you feeling? You had to be so patient coming around the side, didn't you?
I did, yeah, and especially sort of from that 800 metre mark onwards, because I was still smothered back the paint at that stage, and I needed a lot of luck. And when Johnny Allen popped off the fence and I lost the back of him, I had to sort of make it up as I went. But all of a sudden when Johnny popped off, the one in front of him popped off, and before I knew it, within 100 metres I was on the back of the leader. So from that point onwards I was pretty confident I was going to get through, just the way this track's been playing. And look, my filly gave me a magnificent ride. She's been consistent. We knew she was tough and could run out the trip, and she's done just that today.
And you're sharing with two young Stokes boys. They're your vintage, mate, aren't they?
I tell you what, I owe my life to these boys. They're magnificent people, and they're just magnificent trainers. Shay D'Annunzio's over here. Adam Brewster, he works behind the barriers, but got a massive part to play in the Stokes team. And there's so many names I could rattle off. My manager, Nick Pinkerton, cheerio to him. He's been a massive part of my career. My family, I could ramble on all day, and the people that I don't mention, I'm so sorry, but it's just magnificent to capture this moment and keep one here in Adelaide first and foremost.
And finally, I know your dad's here and all of that, so it's really emotional stuff for you, but to have consecutive Group 1 wins over 2 years here in your home state.
I was saying, just sort of going back 6 months ago to John and Terry, I don't want it to stop at one Group 1 at that stage after climbing Star, and to get a second one and keep the ball rolling, and I'm going to say it here again, I'm not going to stop at 2 either.
Brilliant, mate. Well done.
Thank you very much.